Hello, welcome back to A Spiritual Ascension, my 5-year journey. When we left off, I was kind of telling you about how I had gone with my friend down south, taking me kind of out of this dark, deep, dark night of the soul. And I needed to get grounded and just be out in the fresh air, seeing the mountains, seeing the greenery. And that's such a great way if you feel like you are in that dark place, having a dark night of the soul. Do yourself a favor and get outside, get into nature, take a walk, walk on the grass, just do anything to come into um, a green space and just get some fresh air. Um, so that was June of 2022. And just over now 2 years of being on this journey, I kind of at this point figured out kind of what was going on. And it was also helpful being with him because I hadn't had anyone else to talk to about what was going on with me. And even though I would say, was grasping spirituality in a way, he wasn't fully at that point. And he was saying that you're going to have to, in order to get out of this situation, and sometimes the divine uses other people to speak through so that we'll get a message and be able to understand what our next steps may need to be. So he was kind of saying, like, you're going to have to be the one, because I just felt like I was being held still, like I couldn't move. He said, you're going to have to be the one to take the action to move out of this. Like, no one else can really do it for you. And it was kind of up until that point that I realized who she was to me. And there was that breaking point of her children's father having told me that, she hated me and um, had wanted nothing to do with me. And how could I be in this place with this person? So now the scales were balanced. It was kind of like I needed to hear that to understand. So now it was kind of a thing of figuring out what I knew what I needed to do, but how do I do it? Probably around August, I'm going to say. She had come to me as she had been receiving some social services provisions. And I guess she thought that if she told them that she had me in the household, she could get more provisions. So she says, well, I need you to go with me to the social services office and give them your information, your social security number, and then they'll put you as being a part of my household. And I knew I did not want her to have any of my information because she wanted me to give her my social security number. And I said, no, I'll go to the social security office with you. And it's probably the end of August now. Going into now early September, all of a sudden, my son, who is a Marine, who I hadn't seen since 2019, so we're going on almost 3 years. I hadn't seen him when I visit him in Japan. He just shows up. And I was kind of upset because I'm saying, like, you'd even like let me know that you were coming. And he's like, oh, well, I didn't let anyone know. Excuse me. I was really frustrated because I felt like it was almost like her going out to my family and saying that something's wrong with her, like she's mentally unstable, and um, I don't know what to do with her. So I felt like when he first showed up at her house, that it was like all eyes kind of like looking at me in judgment, very uncomfortable. And my son also was another one that I took care of and for all his life raised him until he went into the Marines. And now for you to show up and look at me in this way. Um, I think he had gone to visit some friends down in Virginia, Marine friends. And when he was coming back that second week, they were preparing to say, okay, let's all go out to dinner. And of course, I couldn't say kind of no. And we ended up going out to dinner. And I kind of knew, I said, like, this is the last time I'm going to see him. It was kind of like that Last Supper type of thing. Um, like, this is the last time I'm going to see these people. And I believe that was like a Tuesday night. I'm not sure exact date, but it was like September 20 something, maybe 20th or something like that. Um, it was a nice dinner. And when we left the restaurant, it's kind of like I hugged him and I said to take care of himself. And I kind of knew I would never see him again. Probably like the next day, she said to me that on Friday, we're going to go to the social services office and give your information so that so that she could receive extra benefits for having me there. And I said to myself that I can't allow for her because now I'm going to even be more trapped that I can't get out of this situation even for them. And there has to be some kind of way for me to get out of this at that point. I had kind of started looking into information about shelters, getting emergency shelter for like abusive situations. Um, I remember, as I had told you, visiting that shelter back when I was in New York and giving bags of clothes and was kind of impressed that, shelter was not what I thought it was. And I'm like, you hear about these shelters with women who, are drug addicts and just all kinds of, maybe criminals. And like, how can I put myself in this type of situation? I wasn't sure at this point what I was going to do. But I was saying to the divine that, I need for you to provide a portal for me. If you're not familiar with portals, get used to them and ask the divine for a portal whenever you need one. It's kind of like an opening for you to step through at a particular point so that you can move through without any obstacles, if that makes sense. So you'll understand this as I explain what happened. Um, that morning, Friday morning, So Tuesday night we had dinner, and then that Friday morning we were headed to social services office. I had all my paperwork with me, and she had wanted me to just give her my information. I said, no, I'll bring it with me. We dropped off her kids at daycare, and then we headed to the social services office. Now, in her mind, she was thinking that, oh, this is great. I'm going to get her onto my, I don't know what they call it, my information or my housing information, so that now I'm getting more benefits. And she would also now kind of have more control over me. She pulled up in front of the social services, which was you weren't supposed to park there. And um, we went in, and she asked for a certain person, at the reception desk. And she says, I want to add her to my benefits. So I said to the receptionist, I leaned in and I said, can I get my own benefits? And when she heard me say that, she went ballistic. The guard had come to her to say, you can't park right out in front of the front doors. And she was so upset that I had asked for my own benefits that she says, I don't care, I'll be done in a minute. Just wait. And he kind of like, backed up. And this is at the point where I'm saying, Divine, please provide me a portal. Please provide me a portal. She said, what are you doing to me right now? I said, I'm not doing anything to you. I said, I just want my own benefits. She just went off. She would lost control. She stomped out of there. And I just said to her, I said, I'll find my own way home. And she took off. Soon as she left, I said to the receptionist, can I get emergency housing? And the receptionist had witnessed what I had just gone through. And that was the portal now for this opportunity for me to walk through to the other side of this and never have to look at this person in the face again. So she got someone and they took me into the back, and I had to fill out all this paperwork. And they called a shelter that was nearby, and they had a bed available. And they said that I think it was early in the morning, I don't know, somewhere around 9 o'clock. And they said as long as I was there by 12 o'clock, I could have the bed for that night. And I had to fill out all this paperwork. And I was just like shaking so badly that finally I had left that situation. I called the gentleman that I had gone down to North Carolina with, a friend who had been talking to me saying that, you need to get yourself out of this situation. And I said to him, I need your help to go get my belongings from her house. He says, well, I can't come today, but we'll go early tomorrow morning. And I said, okay, that works out good because she doesn't get up till late. And can just go in, get my stuff, and then leave. So I'll leave it there for now because I don't like to make the videos too long for you guys. But there was this, and I'm glad I had all my information with me, so I was able to fill out all the paperwork. Never thought I would be going into a shelter. But if you remember, if you go back some videos, remember I had the psychic who had come into our practice session, And I said, when he came in, he kind of made a beeline right for me. And he says, I need to do a reading on you. And I was kind of like, what? First thing he said to me was, you're going to be doing work with homeless women. And I'm like, okay. And that's what gave me the idea of donating clothes. And I'm like, well, maybe that's what he meant that I was supposed to do. I had no idea that it was going to end up in a shelter. It wasn't just for women. It was women were upstairs and men were downstairs. But that I was actually ever in my life for someone who had worked on Wall Street was going to end up in a shelter situation. Okay. I haven't told too many people that, but Divine says it's time for you to tell your story. So that's what I'm doing, telling my story. Gonna leave it here. Please like, share, and subscribe. And I will see you next time.